What's up, guys? This is Ming the Merciless 93, and we're over here making a video for PokerVIP.com. We find ourselves in a pretty simple spot with pocket tens where it was 3-bet preflop, and then everybody and their brother called, so we had a pretty sweet implied odds scenario to just call and flop a set. That we didn't do, and we're going to see aces against pocket threes. So it went raise under the gun, 3-bet, over flat, we call, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. If you guys haven't seen Global Poker, it is a site that I believe is advertised on Facebook. It's completely legal in the United States of America, and we're going to just fold this King 7 offsuit combo. Yeah, so you can play on this site in America, and it uses PayPal, so that you can use PayPal to move money in and out. They have like a different strategy with some sort of a sweepstakes thing. But anyway, it's completely legal. Completely illegal. We're going to go ahead and completely legal, that is. Sorry. Been a while since I've made a training video of any sort. I should train myself on training videos. We're going to go ahead and 3-bet the button with pocket nines. Go from there against Soda Pop 41. But yeah, it seems to be a fun site. It seems like a lot of the players on here are sort of Facebook casual, or it has been related to sort of Zynga poker style play. We get 5-7 offsuit here against Soda Pop. We're just going to fold. We're just going to fold. Play a little tight to start off the session. And I think I used to play my sessions pretty aggressively at the start and cause myself a lot of variance. And now I just kind of play a little bit on the slower side of things. We're playing 50-0 limit. Haven't put a ton of money on here. Was considering moving up and playing, the 100-0 games, and just haven't necessarily committed to it yet. We have ace-3 in the small blind, or actually in the big blind. That guy limps the small blind. That's okay. We're going to mostly raise these combos, but you can check a couple so that when you have trash combos, you have a few hands that can sort of interact on ace-high boards. And we're going to isolate out of position against the limper over here, Shah Dynasty. We're just going to fold this ace-3 on this board texture. Not much going on over here. We're just two-tabling today, so that you guys can see clearly all the action. And I'm just going to fold this 6-8 of the offsuited variety and fold our 10-4 suited. Not much going on here. That would have been an open and a straight draw for us. Could have been okay. Looks like Soda Pop 41 over here on the right table. 3xing it. See if he gets any action. But yeah, this looks like a pretty good site for the most part. Pretty happy overall with the software. Seems to be relatively smooth. They have tournaments. They have sit and goes. And they have sweet avatars that you can get that are kind of smooth. And like, look at this dude. This dude is make him say, "Oh, that's like some CTS type stuff." That must be a reg. You can color code people. You can get notes on guys and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. It's always good that you have the ability to at least remember your opponents, because there's one thing that I do like about this site, and that is that you can't use a HUD. So there is no ability to sort of track anything. All the casual players are protected in that regard. And we're going to raise Queen 7 offsuit here on the button. And I think that's good, because I think that, HUDs are a pretty big unfair advantage that, you're going to take advantage of because all the regs have them, but it's pretty unfair for the casual players, and Global Poker definitely doesn't really have that for the regs to sort of get an edge on the casuals and know that they're playing 60% of their hands. I mean, you should be able to know that anyway. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. I mean, we're going to fold the King 5 of the suited variety. And we're going to fold the 6-3 offsuit. We'll get into some strategy talk, I'm sure. I know that we're just two-tabling, so there's not a ton going on at the beginning of the session here, but as we get into the session, it will be good, and this is going to be a 4-part series, and I'm probably going to continue making videos for PokerVIP.com, so you'll be able to check some of those out. And, of course, you can also check me out on my stream on Twitch TV. There should be some information floating around somewhere, a link either in the bottom or my coaching profile on PokerVIP.com. And we're going to fold 3-8 of the offsuit variety. But as you can see, there's a lot of limpers in these games. That's what I mean by Facebook casual. You're going to get a lot of limpers. Just kind of, to me, it just kind of reminds me a little bit more of live poker than online poker, which is actually pretty sweet. You get sort of that organic feel, and you don't have, a bunch of HUDs mucking everything up. We're going to raise it up with pocket nines, folding our 9-4 offsuit. Take it down, smooth as a whistle. Smooth as a whistle. King 5 offsuit, not going to be opening this in the cutoff. If it was a suited combo, I certainly could if the button was on the tighter side of things, if you want to get a little bit on the disrespectful. But for right now, we'll just go ahead and fold this and see what happens. So we got a limper in the small blind. The big blind, are they going to raise? Couldn't tell you. Maybe. Come on, you can do it, Cash Diamond. What kind of a cat? How could you call yourself a cash diamond and not raise here? You know, you just can't abide a limper, especially not from some dude with a half stack. Come on, stand your ground. Oh, never mind. They're disconnected. They're not even making decisions anymore. Oops. Come on. We've got King 4 of the offsuit variety. This guy's posting his blinds. We're not going to be isolate raising just because this 4 kicker kind of sucks. Even if this was suited, this would be alright. And you get a guy with 13 bucks isolating. We're not going to dick around in this spot at all. This would be a spot where we could attack with combos that are ahead of whatever the good vibes opening range would be. So if we're sitting there like ace-jack, for instance, and we think that guy's isolating at a wide clip, then we could certainly just 3-bet and get it in. You know, good pocket pairs, etc. Anything that's ahead of his opening range there, and yeah, we should be all right. Folding 9-deuce offsuit. Looks like it's coming around to another limped pot scenario, and that's what I mean. You actually get limps in this game. It's crazy. So we're going to go ahead and limp in the small blind with ace-5 offsuit. I'm mainly going to be raising it up with good combos, pairs, good suited connectors, and sort of limping all of the trash hands that make a straight, because you're generally getting a pretty good price. And, well, we're not going to see a flop this time because we get an isolation raise. And I have a note on this player. I don't know what the note is. What's the note? Bet, 3-bet flush draw, and 3-way pot for 100 plus. Bet, 3-bet flush draw, and a 3-way pot for 100 big blinds plus. Oh, that sounds crazy. Looks like that person has a wide bluffing range, or at least enough bluffs. So they isolate, and it looks like they're betting that flop, which is kind of weird. We're not going to defend the big blind with 6-4 offsuit versus the min raise from the cutoff. We're going to defend other combos. We defend 5-6. Ace-4 offsuit in the small blind. See if Soda Pop's going to raise it up. He doesn't, so we are certainly going to. Folding our second run at 9-4 offsuit. And we're going to take that one down. No resistance. Queen-deuce offsuit, can't do much with it. And I wasn't sure if this was going to be the better format than for tabling, just because it seemed like it had like a slight bit of lag to it. So we're just kind of testing this out. And I don't know if it was because it's a browser-based. That is one thing about it. It is browser-based, so you got to be careful, because if you refresh the browser, all your tables will disappear, and you definitely don't want that to happen. We got pocket nines again. We're just like pocket 9 city over here. We have a limper. We're going to go ahead and isolate this guy. Raise it up with pocket 9s over the top. See what happens from here. Nothing quite like pocket 9s. We've had pocket 9s 3 times so far in a short period. We get pocket queens or something. If this guy shoves, I definitely would have called. This is an interesting board texture. There's some blockers here to 8-9. You know, in general, I'm fine c-betting these boards. I also don't mind checking them back. I'm just going to check this back this time and go from there. This guy called in the small blind. He's going to have a lot of Broadway combos and pairs. So generally, we have the best hand here, unless he just made a flush. Also, we have a flush blocker and, you know, a blocker to the 8s. And he could have hands like 10-jack and, you know, obviously we're blocking 9-10, but you could also have 5-6. I mean, we're just going to call him down here for the half pot. I will say this going into this call, that half pot generally indicates more value range than not, but when you're blocking part of their value combos in my check back range, if he's betting here and he's beating me, it's because he's got an 8 or it's because he has a flush, and this ends up being a good combo blocking both of those things, and we end up seeing him just have the ace of spades to bluff with, which is not unreasonable in his shoes. I would, if I were him, I would have just used a different sizing scheme. I probably just would have bet slightly bigger on the turn, and I probably would have overbet or considered overbetting on the river. Because a lot of my opponents are not going to be capable of checking back an 8, and if they don't have as many 8s or no balancing 8s or checking back boats, then that means their check back call turn range is mainly going to be 1 spade or just 1 pair in general. Some sort of a bluff catcher, which a lot of pressure will be put on by making that overbet sizing. So I think my opponent could use better sizing on that spot, but yeah, pretty good spot for us to check back and call 2, which is why I elected to check back specifically with the 9s with the spade. If we do block 8-9 and we do block spade combos, we're just going to fold here to a pot size bet with our queen 8 offsuit variety. We have no pair and no draw, no way to interact. King 5 on the button. We will raise this up if it folds to us, but we're going to have to be careful because this dude in the blinds could be kind of crazy with his 20 funky ass dollars. Not entirely sure. We get a pot size raise from under the gun, and we're going to be folding the queen 7 offsuit in the big blind. What else we got here? What else we got here? We got a 3-5 offsuit. That's going to be a folding variety most of the time. It does make it worth your while to not necessarily fold in these games, you know, like a pre-fold, because there could be some scenarios where like 5 people limp, and then you just want to, you know, well, first of all, you're like, why am I at a 7-handed table? But yeah, you know, you want to be able to limp. You want to be able to maybe find a nice spot for a squeeze play. You know, so just taking your action last makes a lot of sense. 5-6 offsuit, just a folding combo. Nothing to say there, really. In the cutoff, you kind of want to get away with everything that you possibly can. I mean, you're going to have a relatively balanced opening range to start with, and then from there, anytime the button is, like, let's say he's overly tight and he's folding a lot, then you really should be opening a ton of buttons or a ton of cutoffs, because that's essentially a second button for you. And then if that guy ends up being super loose, then we're just going to tighten up a bit and not dick around as much. So we have a short stack guy, isolation, raising over the top of the limp, and Jack 3 doesn't really play very well. We're just going to kind of bounce out of here with that. Same thing with our King 3 combo. We can definitely have some 3-bet bluffs versus under the gun in under the gun 1, but this is not generally going to be one of them. More like, you know, Ace 5, even King Queen offsuit is a combo that you're generally going to be folding there, but it's one of the better ones, and it's got really good blockers, so I'd probably use those combos some percent of the time in Ace 5. You know, you can have some bluffs there for sure. We're going to raise it up here with our Ace Deuce of Hearts. I think that it kind of depends on your opponent. You can move towards exploiting whether or not he's folding too much to 3-bets, or whether or not, you know, if he's opening up a really tight range, and you're probably flatting a lot of combos there. Holy hell, what the hell is this? Looks like we're going to get a 6-way pot that we talked about. Let's flop 3 hearts. This becomes pretty easy for us, just a binary check fold rather than any other thing. And we'll watch as, I'm sure there are going to be some fireworks erupting here. I mean, that's a pretty wet board texture for the most part, and we're really only blocking a hand like Ace Jack, Ace 7 suited. I mean, it's pretty tepid as far as our interaction with this board texture goes. No backdoor draws or nothing like that, so it's, yeah. This guy's going to bet a third pot. With his stack size, it makes sense. If he gets called, he has a slight overbet on the turn. So he probably should bet like a slight bit bigger if he's planning on double barreling. Looks like we're going to take it down with Ace Queen. That's unfortunate. We were trying to get a taste. And clearly we just have no way to interact, so we're just going to fold. You're going to have some fold equity, or you're going to have some actual hand equity. Those two things go hand in hand. King doesn't really change too much here. You know, some 2-pair combos, perhaps. King X of spades, but otherwise, not really. 9-10 picks up a double gutter. Now it could hit an 8 or a queen. I mean, there are a few things going on with this king, but not too much. And I would assume that the bottom of this guy's range is going to be some sort of a flush draw. Looks like he has pocket 9s, and he's just gone bananas, and Queen Jack is just not in the mood for folding. And that's what I mean by some casual type things going on here. I mean, clearly his pre-flop play is alright, but his post-flop play is relatively suspect. We're in the big blind. This guy doesn't have a full stack. We're just going to flat call here. 3-betting is not unreasonable, and that's what we're going to be doing from the small blind. But from the big blind, we're just going to go ahead and call. And on this board texture, we're just going to check and fold. No real interaction. No way to get the showdown. Not an efficient bluffing combo. Just done. We have the 8-5 of the offsuit variety. Mostly going to be folding this. And it looks like we've got the reverse 8-5. Could we swap those and just get like 8s and 5s? I'm not sure which flop I'd want to see on which table. But alright, we're going to fold these combinations. We got Farm Good Vibes. He's all in again. $8. Look, he's just trying to ride the ring, you know, kind of run it up maybe. See if he gets some action from anybody over here. And he is going to get Isolation raised. Isolation raised by Pocket Queens with his King Jack. And it's not going to do it. We'll see if he buys back in or if he gives up. We'll see if he's donezo. We have Ace-5 of diamonds. We are certainly going to raise this combo. And if we get 3-bet by somebody who appears to be a reg, then we would consider putting this in a 4-bet bluffing range. Instead, we're going to get flat called again by the dude in the small blind. And last time he had that Ace-Queen. We'll see what he's got this time. We got the big blind considering their action. They're going to fold. We're heads up. we have no way to interact with this board texture. If we had ace-5 of clubs, I would bet, and if we had the ace of clubs with some sort of offsuit card, because obviously we wouldn't be playing ace-5 offsuit in this early position. So if I had, something like that, then I would be perfectly fine betting the flop and continuing, but in this spot, no. And my opponent here, obviously he can have better hands than us. He could have an ace-x or better. The bottom of his value range might be some sort of a jack. Probably not. It's not very likely that he's betting a hand like king-jack. But with 2 flush draws out there, us not blocking any of them, now that's a bad river card. If he pots this, I'm probably just going to fold. It's actually not a very good river because 9-10 gets there, and he has bigger aces, and the only combos that we're really beating now are like queen-10, queen-9, 2 hearts that don't include an ace or a jack. So this is like king-10 of hearts, king-queen of hearts, king-9 of hearts. I don't know, there's just not really enough combos in this spot. We are getting a good price, 3-1, but generally in these games, people tend to underbluff. It is worthy of noting that the 7 will also give him a few 2-pair combos, and in addition, he won't necessarily be bluffing with a hand like 7-9 or 10-7, depending on how wide he's calling. So I'm actually going to fold this combo here, even though that's congruent with the sizing he used last time he was bluffing, and we're going to call him down on blank rivers. That's a river card that interacts with both his backdoor draws and his front door straight draw, and it also reduces some of his bluffing frequency, so I'm not really happy continuing on that river, especially if he just has like ace-10 beats us. We're just not super happy. We're really just bluff catching against hearts that don't have an ace or a jack, and there's definitely some, for sure. There's going to be some, but he's also very likely to just check 8x of hearts or 7x of hearts. So like any of his heart combos that have a pair are probably more likely to check, at least for a lot of people. I can't say that it's 100% certain, but a lot of the time those combos get checked. So if that's the case, then we're really just bluff catching against heart combos, queen-9 and queen-9, queen-10, but does he have offsuit variety in the small blind? Probably not, so we can't count on a full 16 of each of those. So it's probably just going to be 4 each, and then whatever other heart combos he has that don't include the pairs on the board. So I mean, overall, there's probably way more value combos in that specific run out on that specific river than there are the bluffs. So even though we're getting 3-1, we need him to have a 3-1 ratio in that spot. And let's say we can only find, how many? I'm trying to think here. So if he has king jack, king 10, some of those combos like ace king's going to 3-bet. The aces are kind of irrelevant. King 9, maybe 3 kings, and then maybe 3 or 4 queen x combos. Not a ton. There's not a ton. There's like, well, queen jack and queen ace, no. It's like queen 10 of hearts. I mean, there's just not a ton of those. I doubt he has the offsuit combos. But either way, it's hard to find that many bluffs. So if we can, let's say that from a math perspective, let's say we can only find 6 bluffs, and we're getting 3-1 on the river. He bets half pot. And, we basically need 25% equity to call there. So we need him to have a ratio of, so when he has 6 bluffs, we need to, he can cap out essentially at 18 value combos. So he can value bet, let's say he has ace-10 offsuit, right? That's not an unreasonable hand for him to have. Well, he can have ace-10 offsuit. That already is going to be 2 aces and 4 10s. That's already 8 combos. And then if he can have ace-queen, that's another 8. That's 16 combos. So once we get to flushes, once we get to straights, once we get to sets, once we get to all of those combos, he's probably going to end up having like 30 or so value combos. So if he has 30 value combos and he only has 6 bluffs, then clearly he's going to be severely under bluffing. And even though we're getting a good price at 3-1, we're not able to call there because we don't get to enough bluffs from our opponent. So it's important to sort of think about not only the board texture and exact combos that your opponent can have to be bluffing with, but you have to sort of look at the price that you're getting on the river and then relate that to the number of bluffs versus value combos he's going to have in that spot from an absolute ratio perspective. And that is something that will take a bit of getting used to. And if you guys are trying to get better at doing that and you think like, whoa, calm down, man, this is just a 50-0 video. You're sounding all crazy and shit. I think you should probably break out something like Equilab or PokerStove and start modeling a couple of scenarios, like take a flop texture and then just start really working through the hand combinations from both players' perspectives. You can choose bet sizings, you can choose positions, you can choose the hand that you want, or if you just want to focus on range. But there's so many unique situations in poker that you really, really want to sort of focus, and it's important to start thinking about things in that regards, because that's the math of poker. And everybody that gets decent at poker knows the basic shortcuts of poker math. I need 4-1 for this, and I need 2-1 for that. And it's kind of similar in that when you're looking at a spot, you can just sort of estimate, and you say, okay, because it's never going to be perfect, right? Like if he fully pot bets it on the river, then sure, that When he pot bets, you're getting 2 to 1. You need a 2 to 1 ratio of hands that you're beating versus hands that you're not. So you can do that pretty easily. But once they start using abstract sizings and other things get involved, you just kind of want to estimate, but have a good idea whether it's a 3 to 1 or a 2 to 1, and sort of think of, oh, we took a walk with our king queen, trying to play that combo. You think about exactly how many combos there are for bluffs or value combos. I mean, you can do it either way. You can think about their value combos first, and then what bluffs could they have. But thinking about their bluffs as well, and then relating that to value combos, that works as well. Whichever way you prefer, whichever way works for you. But it's important to be thinking about both of these things, and it's also important to sort of think about how the average player in the player pool is playing, because these small stakes games, they get severely under bluffed on the river, so you're not really going to be bluff catching that much. Let's go ahead and put a 3-bet in here, guys. This is definitely not something I'm always 3-betting. I prefer the non-gap suited connectors and ace-x. I mean, we have a very robust 3-bet range, but we're just kind of throwing in a 3-bet here. I wouldn't say just for the video, but definitely not one we're always choosing. Looks like we're going to get a call. We flop a pretty good board texture for us. We're losing to 4 combos of Jack-9 suited, 3 of 8s, 1 of 10s, 1 of 7s. But overall, I would say this is a pretty good board texture to just bet and get the money in against Ace-10, pocket jacks, 9s that go bananas. And plus, my opponent might be perceiving me to have more of a range of ace-queens and ace-kings. And I'm going to be checking a lot on this board texture, to be honest with you. And I used a bigger sizing just because of the nature of the board texture. Any jack is a straight draw. Any 9 is a straight draw. Any 6 is a straight draw. Your opponent's going to float a lot. And they have position. And I don't want to see 4 straight turn cards, because even though I have the best hand now with 2 pair a lot of the time, my hand is relatively vulnerable in a sense that a turn card could easily beat my hand or kill my action. So I want to kind of prevent that from happening by making a bigger bet size. And on board textures like that, where a lot of hands can give you action, it makes a little bit more sense to sort of protect your hand and restrict the amount of hands they can call with, or make them make bigger mistakes. So let's say my opponent has pocket 6s in that spot, and I bet a 3rd pot, he's probably going to peel, and then, he probably uses board texture to bluff on later streets, potentially, or he just folds on blanks, and life is easy for him. But if I bet bigger, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him if he decides to call with 6s for one street, because some guys are just not really going to fold to your bet sizing. If it's inelastic, then you certainly should be going for bigger bets, especially on those sort of boards where the action is going to drastically change on a lot of turn cards. And yeah, I'm going to have a pretty robust checking range on that board, because you're going to be checking your ace-kings and your ace-queens, and you're also going to be checking, 1 pair hands a lot, because on that board, let's say we just get there with ace-10 suited, we're not very happy if we get raised. So against a volatile opponent or a good reg that's got a raising range there, you're not going to want to get involved, because they're going to have 2 pairs, and they're going to have sets, and they're going to have straights, and they might slow play queens or some weird shit like that. So there's a lot of spots where you're going to have a pretty robust checking range. And you're going to want to put hands that can call multiple streets into that checking range. And top pair, second pair, third pair, any of those pairs that have a backdoor flush draw specifically is going to be a good candidate to start with. You're also going to have to probably check some overpairs some percent of the time. I would say that if you're just playing against a casual player at these games, these, sort of passive, fishy guy, or, it's just sort of a weaker reg, or he plays pretty ABC, those are the times that I'm not going to be checking as often. I'm just going to go ahead and bet, because I think that bet folding against those types of straightforward players ends up being a little bit better than check calling and then playing out of position, because you don't really know where some guy is going to draw the line as far as his bluffs go. We're going to go ahead and raise it up here with our queen 9 of clubs, just play a few hands. Basically, we want on 2 tables, a little bit of action, so we're going to take pretty much any spot that looks good to us. Any spot that looks kind of okay. And on this board, we are blocking 8-9, we're blocking not too much else, I guess. 7-9. We're going to go ahead and continuation bet. We don't know too much about this guy. We do have a backdoor flush draw. It's a paired board. I'd assume he's going to call here some. Probably going to double barrel, a decent percentage of the time. There's a lot of cards we can double barrel here. That is a good card on one hand and a bad card on the other. It's a good card on one hand because all of his ace-high floats and all that other stuff is going to have to fold. It's a bad card because if he has a 5 or pocket 6s or pocket 7s, he's never folding. But generally, to make him fold ace-high floats, make him fold smaller pairs, plus we're uncapped, so we have 9s all the way up to aces, and he's basically capping out at some combos of quads. We hit the queen on the river, and it's actually a pretty good card, because obviously, like, if he has quads, we're screwed here. So what's our strategy? I think we could either check, because he does have quads here, so when he calls twice. And if I have 2 options. I can either bet small or I can check. I'm going to check this time, and I'm not really assuming that he's going to bet too wide of a range. We're not going to be folding this hand, but we might have just run into quads because he shouldn't really be betting a 5. He shouldn't really be betting 9s. He might have some queen X combos that chop. But yeah, we're just going to have to check and call because if we bet there and we get raised, it's pretty rough. And on this queen, it's actually a pretty good, again, we have the uncapped range, so it's pretty difficult for him. Exactly. And he has pocket 9s and he decides to value bet. So that's what I mean. If we bet pocket 9s, or if we bet that river and he shoves, we're probably going to have to fold. It's pretty bad. We're like chopping or crushed, right? So the question is, how much can we get if we bet the river and what combos are going to call us? And a lot of the times, that is a spot where he's not going to want to get involved because he's just going to have a small pair. And here he kind of has the top range of his small pairs. We're going to go ahead and squeeze it up here, guys, with the jacks and get it in against, Dynasty and Big Dog. So hopefully the original raiser just folds and we don't have to deal with any 3-bet action. Raising it up with 10-5 of hearts on the button. And they all fold, so we'll take that down. Can't complain about that, not in the least. We have ace-10 on the small blind. We're going to raise that up. Or 3-bet it, or something. We're going to play some damn pots. But yeah, on spots where, 3 card boards, you have, as the preflop raiser, an uncapped range, you have initiative, and in general, your opponents are going to call twice and then fold the river a lot. So those are pretty good triple barrel boards, and you just kind of have to get used to the variance of them because you have an uncapped range and you're probably not bluffing enough versus your value combos. So you have to think about how many value combos you're going to end up with there, and then how much are you actually bluffing. And I think those boards get under bluffed and over folded, so you should be bluffing more on 3, one, like it's a, the board is like 7-7-7, for instance. We check here, homie goes all in. I mean, there's obviously no reason to bluff catch here for that price. Pretty absurd. For that price, we would definitely have better combos to call. We would want some sort of blocker to queen jack, or we'd want queen jack ourselves with a club, or obviously there's some combos we can call with there. But we'll definitely take a note of when a guy does something like that, because it could be the case that he has just a nutted combo and he's like, hey, I'm overbet shoving because I have the nuts. But it could also be the case that he just wants you to fold and he's some casual guy and he's trying to use Doyle Brunson's 1962 power poker strategy. And if that's the case, then you probably want to take your continuation bets and widen them if you're getting folds from him, and you're going to want to take all the marginal hands you would try to get to showdown with, and you're going to want to probably bet them, and you're probably going to want to take a lot of strong hands and then just check hands that can just snap call triple pot. Because if that guy's going to make a really big exploitable bet sizing mistake, then you clearly want to put him in situations where you can capitalize on that the best of your abilities. Now those spots don't come up all that often, and that dude might have just had the nuts. You never really know until you see a showdown. But if time goes on, we can get a little bit of inclination of what he's up to and kind of go from there. 6-7 offsuit is going to be a fold under the gun. A couple of minutes here, we're going to wrap up part 1 of this video series. Again, if you guys haven't checked this place out, globalpoker.com. Globalpoker.com. You can use PayPal. That shit is completely legal in the United States of America. And it does have a bunch of different stakes. It's got tournaments. It's got sit and goes. It's an okay site. I've had some weird things happen on this site, but nothing that's been too out of the ordinary to the point where I wasn't happy playing on here. There's a lot of Facebook type bros and hoes out there. A lot of Facebook people out there. A lot of casual, a lot of limping. As you can see, we've seen some pretty fishy things. The one thing that I would say, if I had to criticize it, would be that the PayPal withdrawals cost like 5%. But all in all, everything else about the site, the other rake, whatever, is all pretty standard. So I mean, it's a pretty solid place to play if you're playing and you're trying to get your cash games on. Their tournament schedule could be better, but they do have pretty good tournaments on the weekends, and they also have pretty nice tournaments that you can unlock the ability to get access to. Some of those. But yeah, if I were you guys, I would definitely suggest checking this out and seeing if it seems like a site that works for you. Like I said, the software is smooth. Overall, not unhappy. You can color code players. Everything is clear. They got the 4-color deck. That's pretty standard. I love that it's legal in the United States and it's advertised on Facebook. The fact that it's advertised on Facebook and we're getting pretty casual players here, and then you can use PayPal with it, is all pretty awesome for being a U.S. player. It's all pretty awesome because that's not something that we're used to being stuck in the United States. But I hope you guys have enjoyed part 1 of this video. I am going to pause this and make 3 more parts. So I will check you guys in just a little bit. You can check me out on twitch.tv, Ming the Merciless 93. And yeah, this has been a PokerVideo.com video. All right, guys, catch you on the flip side.